Boom. Sammy Hoekstra, mate. How you doing,
What's
bud?
up? I'm doing great. Doing great.
Man, listen, if anyone's following you on Instagram, which I am because you're part of the Sprint Revolution Nation, my friend, and I appreciate the
So,
support and love. Dude, you are on a mission right now. Tell us what's going on. What's happening on over on your Instagram?
oh man. Yeah, the Instagram is going pretty crazy.
Mm.
It's been a lot of fun. So yeah, I just someone I don't know, gosh, I should have wrote this down. Aquatic strength or something like that. Some strength swimming
Yeah.
Instagram page put on a story like, hey, what would get better results? Doing a 50 for 100 days easy or doing a 50 all out for 100 days? And I was like, well, obviously that's a no-brainer, but then I just kind of got thinking like, all right, what would that look like? If you did a 50 all out for 100 days, what would happen? Would you see results? Would you get too fatigued? Would you not see anything? Like, can somebody even do that for 100 days, like in a
Mm.
row? So, yeah, the wheels started turning, and I think literally the next day I was like, why not? Why not? I'm an aquatics director, so like, access to the pool is pretty easy, um, and so yeah, I just started it, and it's been a pretty wild ride since then.
Yeah, man, it's catching on, and I've been following along, and it's hard to follow every day, and I'd imagine it's difficult to get up and get going every day. When you first thought of 100 days in a row, it probably didn't seem as daunting as it does when you're in the middle of it, hey?
No, 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 not at all. Um, yeah, like you said, to get up and go, uh, like every day, and because that's the thing, right? So it's not just swim a 50 once a day for 100 days. It is swim a 50 all out, right? And so I think a lot of people don't understand what all out is, what like a true 100% all out effort mentally and physically truly is. So that's been, yeah, those two things, like knowing that I have to do it every single day, and then making sure that I'm being true to the experiment and finding a way to mentally and physically give my like absolute best every single day, is by far the hardest part. And yeah, like you said, I got, the first couple of days was fun. It was pretty easy mentally, but once I got it towards like 9, 10, 11, 12 into the teens, um, it, it was tough. It was tough to just get myself there every day. So yeah,
Mm.
it's been,
Now,
yeah.
do you I was surprised, it sounded like you had set some ground rules for yourself, like you weren't warming up, you weren't cooling down, it was just literally going to the pool and racing? How'd you come up with the guidelines and kind of the standards you wanted to set for yourself?
Well, just the little that I know from like running experiments in school and stuff and science class, like going back to basic science, like just trying to create the cleanest, most controlled experiment that I could. And so when I sat down and thought about it, I was just like, I'm really just testing like the pure stimulus, right, of swimming a 50 free. So before this, I was, for me, relatively untrained. I wasn't lifting consistently at all. I wasn't swimming consistently at all. Um, and like I'm naturally physically gifted, athletic, whatever. Um, so I'm not like, you know, I wasn't 100 pounds overweight or anything like
Mm.
that, but like, relatively untrained for me. So, I'm a dad. I'm a dad of three now. That's another part of this.
Yeah, you had a baby, like, somewhere in the middle of this, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We had a baby. That was wild. We can, maybe we can get into that a little bit later, but so yeah, just setting like, hey, like, I just want to know what this 50 free can do for me, and so yep, no training, no other swimming, other than just the 50 free. So I'm not even getting in the pool to warm up. I'm not warming down after. I'm not in the weight room. Really, the only physical stimulus that I'm getting each day is just walking around on the pool deck coaching, and then obviously running around with my kids. But
Yeah.
other than that, just the 50 free.
That's the other part of this. You said you're an aquatics director, but you're also a head coach of a team. So tell us about your team, where you're located. Give us a little background on the team itself.
Yeah, so I'm at Byron Center High School, Byron Center Public Schools in the Grand Rapids area of Michigan, West Michigan. I'm the head club coach, head high school coach for boys and girls. Our club's about 150 athletes. We do pretty well. We're, I think we finish in the top 10 in Michigan typically. Yeah, our kids love to go fast, and so I was a sprinter. I grew up being a sprinter, and our kids love sprinting too. And so, yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah, give us a little bit more background athletically then. So where are you now? How old are you? How long has it been since you fully swam, in a professional sense where you were doing it every day and you were aiming for goals? Give us the timeline of what you used to do and where you are now.
Yeah, so 33 years old. I didn't start swimming until I was in 8th grade, really, at least competitively. I knew how to swim, but didn't start swimming competitively until 8th grade.
Mm.
It kind of took off from there. I went to the University of Michigan right out of high school, and then to the University of Louisville. I transferred after sophomore year. Um, I was a multiple time NCAA All American, qualified for NCAA's. Only on relays though. I was never invited individually. I love relays. Like I said, I love sprinting, sprint freestyler. My best times. I was at Louisville or in college from 2009 to 2013.
Mm.
I my best times 19.9 in the 50 free, 43.8 in the 100 free. So nothing insane. For back then, it was it was good enough to put me on relays, and like our highest finish on relay was my senior year. Our 400 free relay took fourth at NCAA's.
Mm.
And it was a blast. And I love, like I said, I love sprinting, and I love being on a team, and love swimming relays. And I think with kind of that mindset and having the later start, I just wasn't, at the end of college, I wasn't ready for my swimming career to be done.
Mm-hmm.
I also got married in college, and life had to start at some point. And so I got right into working after college, and coaching immediately. I knew about halfway through my senior year, I knew, in my heart, that coaching is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And so I kind of committed at that point to continue, having swimming be a huge part of my life. And but I had to work to get there. So I started club coaching and coaching high school, and that was back in 2013, fall of 2013, and I've been doing it literally every day ever since.
Mm.
But I think like many of us after our college careers, there was a lot of things that I look back on and I wish I had done better, and I wish I had maybe given a little bit more, and been a little bit smarter about some things. And so personally, I tell everyone, like, I've never retired. I will never retire. It's something I love to swim. I love to be in the water. And although I'm 33, like, retirement day is a long ways away for me. And so, I train here and there. Back in 2019, I kind of made a run at trials. Life kind of got in the way, but I was definitely on track for qualifying for trials. And actually, that's when I went my lifetime best in the 50 free, that 2019 summer, and only training. I was working 80 hours a week, so what the training looked like back then. I was already doing sprint revolution back in 2019 for sure.
Well, we appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
you and I have been good friends for a while too, and we talk back and forward as well. And I know that your love and appreciation of fast swimming is there. In terms of your influences, obviously you swam at Michigan and at Louisville. What were some of the personal influences you had, in those environments where you kind of fell in love with sprinting, have this appreciation for it?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely started with Mike Bottom and
Hmm.
Mark Hill at
Yep.
Michigan. I mean, two of the most legendary sprint coaches.
Hmm.
Not a lot of people know Mark, but man, he is a savage and he is a sprint genius. He's a prodigy, a protege of Mike and everything they did down in the race club. And
Yep.
my goodness, the amount of learning that happened my freshman year at Michigan was just incredible. And yeah, and they instilled all that sprint mindset, and it really is. It's a mindset. Obviously, there's certain ways that we train, but it truly is a mindset. And then yeah, continue that on it with Ryan Wakamerka, who you obviously know really well,
Mm.
and Chris Lindauer. So Ryan's the head coach at Auburn now, and Chris is the head coach at Notre Dame, and
Yeah.
both doing just incredible things there. And so I'm extremely blessed to have been coached by some of the best sprint minds in the country right now.
Yeah. So, in terms of the things that they valued and the things that you value now as a coach and swimmer, as it relates to sprinting, what are the things you learned at those two programs from those incredible coaches that are kind of just part of your belief system now? That the things that you kind of just part of your program or things that you hold true. What are the learnings we could take from sprinting that people maybe misunderstand a little bit?
Um, yeah, I think, like I said, it's a mentality, and that's one thing that I've learned from this experience and this 50 free experiment is that like if you're mentally not there, there's it doesn't matter what your body's gonna do. Um, you can't be you can't like to have a great sprint practice. If your mind is elsewhere, if you're thinking about anything other than exactly what you're doing right in that moment,
Mm.
it's not you're not gonna it's not gonna be a true sprint practice, right? And like like how many practices did you have to go through where all you wanted to do was think about something else?
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. And so that was it. Like you had to be 100% locked in. And I remember like I had a practice with Mark my freshman year, and he spent 30 minutes explaining the set because it was that complex. And I was a little off that day. I was a little tired, and so he gets done explaining the set, and literally first 25s off the block, and I went hard. I went all out, but like he could see it, and I felt it. Like I shouldn't say I went all. To me, it felt hard, right?
Yeah.
But he was expecting that 100%, and he knew that I didn't give that. He booted me right there. He kicked me right out of practice, sent me to the showers and he was 100% right. Like I was not there. I wasn't present. And so that's the message that I try to get across to my kids is like you got to be present. You got to be here, and
Yeah.
99.9% isn't going to cut it.
Yeah, I remember having this very similar type conversation with Ali Tetzlov. Ali's a good friend of mine. She's coaching now too, and she's an NCAA finalist, NCAA All American as well. And Ali came in with a lot of talent too into Auburn, and freshman year she was giving what she perceived to be 100%, but for me it was like a 3 out of 10 type situation. And I may have talked about this on the podcast before, and then the following year she bumped that up to a 7 out of 10, and she just couldn't figure out why she wasn't one of the top girls in the country yet. Like, I'm giving you everything I got, and I said, Ali, it's not about the 7 out of 10. I need 9, 10 out of 10. I need you engaged, fully mentally engaged. And then The following year when she came into practice, it was like a different animal. I mean, this girl was locked in, very similar to an Ariana Vanderpool Wallace, who was just locked in all the time, you know, who was 5'5" and maximized every ounce of potential she had. Whereas Ali's much taller, much broader, probably a little bit more gifted, and just wasn't maximizing her talents. And then when she figured it out, man, it just went to a whole nother level. And then the consistency of her racing as well went up. You know, she couldn't be beat in a dual meet. She would go to SECs and breeze through prelims. She'd go to NCAAs and make it to the finals. Like, it was just a different level of swimmer. And when you have that mental engagement, like you're saying, it seems like such a small thing, but it's a massive deal in sprinting, isn't it?
Massive. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, through this experiment, like that's I've seen improvements in my mental game for sure.
Mm.
When I walk onto the pool deck and I feel awful. I feel tired, you know, like I said, I just had a kid, like you know, not getting sleep. It's like no excuses. Like, you're here, time to lock in. And at the beginning it was really hard, and it took me a long time, you know, to get to that point. But now it's definitely, you know, it's just like anything else. The more you practice it, the better it gets. So
now we're coming up to the reason why we're doing this podcast is we're coming up to the final 10 here. You're in the final stretch. You're at getting close to 90. I don't know when this podcast is going to come out exactly, but you're on the final stretch of the last 10 here. So what are you trying to achieve now in this last 10 block that we can follow along and look for?
yeah, so really throughout the whole thing, my focus, and now I've had trouble staying focused, but my main focus is just to be my best every day. And so, you know, just do what I can to recover, get the sleep that I need, have good nutrition, hydrate, all those things, because I just have a 50, right? And so I don't get to do anything else. I don't get to practice my turns. I don't get to practice my starts. So it's just been about how can I just be the best that I could be every day, physically and mentally. And there's no, you know, I didn't start this with I want to go 19 at the end. I want to, you know, I didn't have these like end goals necessarily. It was just focus on the day, like just one day at a time. And so, yeah, like, you know, the experiment's over, I guess, after day 100, and that's the last day. But that day 100 is, to me, is really no different than any of the other days.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, like, as I'm getting closer, it's hard not to think about it, right? And obviously everyone else is like, oh, you could, you know, you gotta shave and you gotta like taper, and it's like, I get what you're doing, and everyone wants me to go, you know, fast or go 19, and that's kind of the next barrier, right? So, you know, and I get it, and that's the natural tendency. We all do that when we're you know, trying to achieve something. It's so easy to think about that end result, but I've just found that the best way to approach all of this is just like one day at a time. Like today, I haven't done my 50 yet today. That's all I'm thinking about.
What number is it today?
Today is 83, I believe. Yep.
Okay, we're at 83. So yeah, I'm not sure when this podcast will come out, but it might be close to 90. We'll definitely be in the last stretch. But the conditions themselves haven't always been exact, right? Like, you've done it in different lengths. So you've done 25 yards, you've done 50-meter swims as well. You've done some different suited type things. Tell us about the different variables you've used along the way.
A lot of those were just for my own sanity, like, like just like, all right, gotta maybe need a little, you know, extra boost today, or make it a little extra fun today. So yeah, a couple times I've thrown on like an old Blue 70 rubber suit. I've thrown on some fins. I've had an opportunity to do one long course 50, which was awesome. I've hopped in a couple meets. I've gotten on a relay with my swimmers, a couple relays with my swimmers, because through the process, like, we had state meets and we had all these other meets. And so I swam 2 100s, one flat start, one on relay, and those actually kind of blew my mind too. I went 45.8 on a relay, just swimming a 50, once a day.
Mm.
So the fact that I was able to finish 100 as well as I did, and 45 isn't the craziest time, but it's not bad for 350 yards a week, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so just mixing it up, making it fun. Yeah, I've done some in a brief. I've done most of them in tech suits now. Shout out to everyone who's thrown some tech suits my way. I appreciate that. keeps the experiment going too. So
Has there
yeah,
been a particular day of the week that is harder for you than any other day?
it's no, actually not at all. Right,
Wow.
when you're doing the same thing every day,
Yeah.
it doesn't care what day of the week it is. Right, it's not like you're getting a Sunday off, or
Yeah.
it's just going. And so I really do think a lot of it has to do with sleep. I mean, sleep is just absolutely massive. When I'm super
Mm.
consistent, I feel much better, and I feel like I can string together more days in a row of feeling really good.
Mm.
But as soon as I let the sleep slip, I can feel it instantly.
Yeah, well,
Instantly.
that new baby's not gonna give you much, grace on the sleep side
No,
of things.
no. So, but real quick story on that. That day, so it was we had a scheduled delivery, and in the morning, and I knew, like, I told my wife, I was like, listen, I know I'm doing this thing, but like, if you don't want me to leave the hospital, I won't leave the hospital. And she was like, all right, I'll let you know. We'll see how it goes. And it got to about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. We had the baby in the morning, and she was like, you need to go do your swim. I was like, say less, let's go. And so it was actually really cool. A former swimmer of mine swims at a university nearby, Hope College. Um, and I texted him. I was like, hey, I need help. I don't have a suit or anything. I don't have a place to swim. Can you help me out? He's like, I got you. And within like 10 minutes, he texted me back, hey, come to our pool. It's 5 minutes away. I have
Wow.
everything for you. Just
Mm.
show up. We'll get it done. Literally drove over. 10 minutes later, walked in the door, handed me a suit. There were his couple of his teammates were there ready to swim, race
Wow.
me, and we got it done. And I was back in the hospital in like 30 minutes. And
Wow, that's awesome. What a cool
that's been
story.
yeah, that's been one of the best parts about like this experiment too, is that kind of the community that's kind of growing
Mm.
around. I've
Right.
seen so many people on Instagram kind of doing their own thing, their own experiment,
Yeah.
sprinting more often, getting in the pool more often, being more consistent, reaching out, telling me, hey, like, you've inspired me to get back at it. I've had
Mm.
coaches, many coaches kind of my age, saying like, man, you've really inspired me to like get back
Mhm.
at it. And that's for sure been like the coolest part.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of other people, even join in on the fun, like, they're doing their own 100-day challenge as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Young
yeah,
Caleb?
super cool. Caleb, yeah, young Caleb. Yes, he's the man. He's the man. He's doing his thing over there in
Yeah.
I think North Carolina or South Carolina. Yep,
Yeah. Now,
yep.
are you're filming every one of these?
Yeah. So I've had to do. I don't recommend it, kids. I've had to do a couple of them like on my own. So I just set up the camera however I can. But mostly, my wife, and a couple of times my wife and my daughters have come in and filmed for me. And a lot of time my swimmers or other my like assistant coaches and stuff film for me. So yep, filming every single one.
Wow, that's super cool. Sorry, I just had to put myself on mute there. My dog was barking at somebody at the front door, so
All good.
apologize for that. Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's very cool. Hey,
Yeah,
calm
I
down.
was gonna say too, like I've been blown away by the result. I did not think that I would see this much progress.
Yeah, I
Honestly,
was going to say that. Talk to us about the learnings and when you first started this, right? Like you were at 20, 21 kind of high, and you're pretty consistent
21,
at 20 mid now, right?
yeah, 22-2,
Oh
22
wow.
is where I
Oh,
started. So 22 lows. I had a few of those,
oh.
um, and then I kind of eventually got down into the 21s pretty consistently, you know, kind of yo-yoing, going up and down. But I'm gonna chart it all when I'm done. But pretty steadily, you could see the times come down. You know, good days and bad days, obviously. But and then right when I was going about 21 mid to 21 low, kind of going back and forth. Former swimmer of mine, Derek Maas, um, SEC champ at Alabama, he was like, dude, you know, like at some point you're going to be going 20 points consistently. And I was just like, there's no way, man. Like, there's just no way. Like, because I felt a couple times like I had plateaued, and I was like, I'm going to get stuck here and just do 60 more days of going 21 mids to lows. And he was like, no, you're going to go 20 points and you're going to keep doing it. I was like, all right, like we'll see. And I plateaued a little bit at 21 low, and then all of a sudden, boom, I went 120 point. And from that point on, it's been pretty much 20 points the whole time. I have a couple of 20 point mids. Looking for, I'm just coming off of being sick for the second time. That was the other thing. I can't believe that I've gotten sick twice. Number one, I can't believe that.
I can believe it with a new baby and everything, and, you know, working 80 hours and running what you're doing. Yeah, I can believe you're sick for sure.
Yeah, you're right. But the times have stayed consistent, and I just attribute that to the mental aspect of it. It's just like, you know, my body. I the first time I had a fever, I had body aches and chills, I had the whole nine. And I was like, man, this is, I don't know how I'm going to get through this today. But again, just went through it day by day, got there mentally, and the results, I was still swimming fast all the way through the sickness. So, and even this time around too, the times are still there, still going 20 points. And I hit a good one yesterday. And so I'm hoping as I get a little bit more healthy and coming down to the last, 17 here, that those times will continue to come down. But yeah, it's just I'm shocked by the progress, getting close to my lifetime best time. And that one long course 50 that I did too was only 0.28 off of my best time. So
what did you do in that one? 23 something?
23.6, 23.61. Yep. And I was shocked too, because that, everyone's like, oh, it's short course yards, all the non-US people are like, oh, this is easy, it's just short course yards, he's only swimming, in a 22-meter pool, blah blah blah. And it's like, well, there you go. Like, and that was honestly, the way that it felt and looked, that was probably my best last 15 meters I've ever swam of a long course 50 free. So I think the consistency and just training my body to swim at that pace every single day, I think my central nervous system and just everything just knows exactly what to do for doing it so much that no matter what water I get in, what pool I get in, it just goes. So
I always say this to people, is like, look, you want to race fast, you need to train fast. I mean, that's been my kind of my motto throughout my coaching career, ever since I had those legends back in the day, Fred and Caesar, and then all the way up to Bruno Fratus, is like, we go fast in practice. That's what we do. We have to learn what fast feels like. We have to learn to be comfortable in that zone. We have to learn the physical and mental adaptations, like you said, that you're going to go through. And then, one of the biggest learnings I've had as a sprint coach too is that racing consistency. We did this with Bruno, and this is why Bruno has been under 22 seconds 100 times in his career, is we had that flip as well. We went to that mentality of, all right, we're going to race more often. We're going to race as often as we can, actually. And every time we race, we're going to aim to be under 22. And that was kind of the mentality of it. And we weren't always in a physical spot to be able to swim as fast as that. But it was the mental aspect of figuring out how to go fast when you're fatigued and when you're tired. And that didn't mean that we were trying to be fatigued and tired. Like when you're racing and doing something like you're doing consistently, your body's going to naturally fatigue. I mean, you're hitting that central nervous system every day extremely hard, even if it's just a 50 where you're going for 22 seconds, you're taxing that central nervous system. It needs recovery. And then if you're going home to a brand new child, and then you're coming to work for, and you're standing on deck and all that sort of stuff, that adds to the fatigue. So this is where we've got to put more value on recovery. First of all, like you said, it's such a big component of swimming fast, but then learning to swim fast under any condition is such a skill to develop as well. And I think you're really going through this process. And look, there's so much learnings here. There's so much we can take from this. And I hope it translates out into the professional side of swimming too. But also, I guess, the club side. I mean, you're doing something as a club coach in terms of your philosophy and your belief system that I would think is a little bit outside the norm in America. Wouldn't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Talk to me about that. Tell me about the things you notice at the club level in terms of coaching kids under 18.
So, for sure, it's a business, right? And being in charge of, we don't have a board. I'm completely. It's not coach owned. The school owns the club, but I'm 100% in charge of everything, top to bottom. My wife and I actually run it together, and it's a business, right? We're trying to cover our expenses, and we're trying to grow, and we're trying to do all these things, right, from a business standpoint. And so I think it's tough. I think it's really tough on coaches, with that in mind, and kind of the culture around, like, uh, from families and from athletes, the culture of hard work, and, oh, well, this club's training 18 hours a week, so we need to train 20 hours a week. And if you're not doing more, if you're not training more, if you don't have more to offer, then this team's better than you, and we're going to go over there, and blah blah blah. And so I think it just kind of, we just get into, like, this mindset that, like, our value is based on all the things, that how much we can offer, right? And not always how good is the stuff that we're offering.
Right.
And does it allow for these kids to have a great life, a great childhood, like, experience, life to the fullest and what it could be. So many kids around the US are training 22 hours a week from the time they're 11 to 18, and then they go do it in college, and it's like, what else, what did they get to experience? It's like, I feel like they're missing out on so much. And so, like, our thing is, like, we train hard, but the amount of hours that we're putting in the water, with their faces down, is half of probably what most teams are doing, right? And so, but again, like, it's also hard because, it takes, you have to change that culture. You have to get kids to believe that, we can do great things, but we don't have to spend, all that time doing it. And it takes time to change that mindset. It also takes, training and mature athletes. And, like you said, you have to be 100% locked in to get the most out of this type of training. And you tell that to a 12-year-old or an 11-year-old, and it's, they're thinking about what they're doing at practice maybe 10% of the time. So, but it comes from the top down, right? And so I think we're at a point now in our club where our senior group really gets it. They understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, and the younger kids, the next generations, are starting to see it, and they're seeing the results, and they're starting to understand. And the last 2 seasons now, I've coached our 10 and under group, and I'm starting to instill in them some of these same ideas, and they love it, and they really enjoy it, and we go fast a lot. And but again, we work hard, and we don't take a whole lot of time off, and we're very consistent, and we're very disciplined. And yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Now, you could be critical in a way to say like, look, when you first started out the 22-0, you weren't trying that hard, and now you're going 20 points, you're just trying harder. In apart from the mental side of this challenge where you've had this mental adjustment as well, physically, what are the things technically, physically, whatever it is that are in the water type stuff that have helped you, allowed you to go from 22s to 20 points in a matter of 80 days?
Yeah, so yeah, it's really great that I've been videoing every 50, right? So I have,
Right.
think people talk about how valuable watching race video is, right?
Right.
And analyzing it. I have 82 50s that I can watch. And I
Mm.
do, and I review them and I pick them apart. I've even done some underwater video, and I get feedback. Right, I put them out on Instagram, and I get feedback from people. So, um, yeah, I can just right now I can just put to rest like I've been able to be I've been fortunate enough to be able to have been 100% focused mentally and give my 100% effort on it every single 50. I've had to step off the blocks a few times because I prepare, I'd step up, and I just knew I wasn't there yet, and so I gave myself more time. But I can honestly say from my
Mm.
heart that I've given 100% to every single 50 that I've swum for all
Yeah, for
82
sure.
days.
For sure.
Um,
So what about the physical differences in terms of technically? Like what are the technical things that have helped you improve?
so if you watch, when I first started, I when I swam back in college, I was pretty light and I was pretty strong. And so I'm 6 foot, just under 6'5", 100, and right now I'm actually like about 210. In college, I was about 190, same
Mm.
height, and so my strength to weight ratio was a bit better. Obviously, I was training every day. I'm very well conditioned, very strong, and so I would straight arm. But when I started this, I definitely felt pretty heavy, and I didn't feel super strong, and so I felt like I had to shorten up my stroke a little bit to get my tempo going. Since starting though, I've definitely lengthened out and gone a lot more straight arm, and I think I've actually gotten stronger just from doing these. Well, I know I have. My
Mhm.
weight, I've actually gained weight. This is something I don't talk about. I thought for sure that I would lose weight during this process, but I've actually gained weight, but I'm leaner than when I started.
Mm.
So that tells me right there that I've added some muscle.
Well,
Um,
the muscle weighs more than fat anyway, doesn't it?
it does. Yep, it does for
Yep.
sure. And so I've definitely felt more powerful throughout the process. I've lengthened out my stroke, so I'm getting more extension, more reach. Um, I've played around with the underwaters. I'm not a great underwater swimmer. It was something that was very overlooked back when I was sprinting in college. And so I've played around with that, and I've seen huge improvements actually in that. I've just tried to do more. I've also tried to, get a little bit more knee bend and a little more hip movement. I've counted the number of kicks I've done off of the start and the turn, and kind of determine the best number for me based on those results. Because I can always compare, right, the kick count, the stroke count for each 25, and the time, kind of how I felt, where I was breaking out. Um, Obviously, where I'm breaking out determines what stroke I'm going into the wall with, at what distance. So lots of data, obviously, that I've been able to collect over the 82 days. I would say more recently, something that we've talked about is my catch underwater, and kind of how I'm as I'm getting through the second half, my elbows kind of tucking into my side, and
Mhm.
so I'm kind of releasing the water um, towards the end of the stroke. So I need to kind of keep the elbow a little more away from the body to hold that water through the finish of the stroke. My head position has been talked about a lot, kind of like Bukov. I have a very upward head position. I like to look forward.
Mm.
Um, I've kind of flattened that out a little bit, but I still do think that a slightly lifted head position is better for me. Helps me feel like I can sit up on top of the water a little bit more.
Yeah, I have noticed you've got an abnormally long neck
Dude,
anyway.
it's so long. Look at this.
Oh God. Hang on, let me do a close up. Go again.
I'm a giraffe. Look at that.
That is a giraffe, man. Look at that. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's why my traps. I tell people that's why my traps look so small. They're not actually that small. I just have a super long neck. So
You do. And there we go. The differences in body type, man. You know, not everybody's built the same. That's all right.
Nope.
But the
Crazy.
other thing that I noticed too is you were really flat up front. You know, like
Yeah.
you were just kind of like spinning in the water and pushing water. Now it
Yep.
seems like you get in those shoulders around, getting that armpit up and dry and getting those shoulders over the top of the water much better and getting a much better connection out front.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. Dry back, dry armpits. We want to sit up on top of the water, reduce that drag, kind of like a knife, right? Just cutting through the water, getting up and over on top. So yeah,
Now
that's been
you said you felt pretty heavy and flat a little bit up front. Have you noticed an increase in your response? You know, your tempos, like your foot speed, your hand speed. You know, just being able to like catch the water and hold the water, and also press on the water faster, more efficiently too. Hey.
100%. I think the central nervous system, my central nervous system, it just like I said earlier, like it just knows kind of what to do now. It felt a little bit foreign at first. But when I hit that water, like I'm not thinking about my kick tempo. I'm not thinking about my hand speed really at all. I've played around with the tempo trainer recently. But yeah, like again, my body from just doing so many, just kind of knows where to go. And so now
Yeah.
it's okay, how can we, continue to push it a little bit further? That's why I started to play with the tempo trainer a little bit, just to get me, I don't want to get too much in a routine or a rut. I want to keep pushing forward. And so most of my 50s lately I've probably averaged like I say a 50 tempo, right? So I don't know what would that be, 120 strokes per minute.
I don't know what a 50 50
No,
tempo.
50 would be,
Yeah, it's probably a little low. So yeah, you're probably out about 115, 120 there. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
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 Two strokes or a cycle per second, right?
Mm,
That's
yeah.
about where I'm averaging. And so I start faster, I finish slower, right? And so
Mm,
the idea of using the tempo trainer, right, is to try to help me keep that tempo up in the
right.
last 15 of the
And
50.
that's pretty common in the last 15. You're going to drop the tempo, and the length is going to
Yep.
suffer. It's funny with all these little nuances you just talk about. You know, you went into so much detail. Then I'm sure you could go into much more if you broke it down. You know, from the moment you stand on that block to the moment your hand touches the wall at the end, like the nuances and the detail. It's still surprising to me how little a lot of people know about sprinting, especially when it comes to the 50. But then, you know, people say it's a crapshoot. It's like anyone can win it. It's like, oh my God, that's so wrong. It's like when you're working on those details and you're consistent with those details, you understand them, and you put so much time and energy. And like you said, when you're switched on with those details all the time, it becomes less and less of a crapshoot. It becomes more and more of consistent performance because you're physically and mentally worked on those nuances and put them all together consistently, like you're doing in a 100-day process. The guy that stood up on the block day one to the guy that's going to stand up on the block on day 100, if you put those two guys together, that's not a crapshoot. That guy's dominating that person. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Dominating.
dominating.
Yeah,
Yeah, by 2 seconds.
it's the
Yeah.
same person.
Yeah, same person. 100. Yeah, absolutely. And again, I cannot overemphasize the mental aspect of sprinting. Like it's, um, and it's like I've been able to kind of be witness to my own mind and how my mind works, through this process. And even during the swim, you know, if I've been thinking a lot, right? And the best swims are when you're not thinking too much. We
Hmm.
know that. But through the process, for sure, I've had swims where I was thinking a lot of different details, and I've done it for so long that I can pull out these details in, fractions of a second, right? Um, but like I know, like if my mind is distracted, if I'm not 100% present, like it's going to be slower. As even just a tiny bit, if you're thinking about the person next to you, if you're thinking about, oh, that breakout wasn't good, like
Hmm.
if you're already thinking backwards, you're not. It's not going to be there, and it's so easy to do that. It's so easy to think about all those other things. um you just, yeah, that.
Yeah.
And I think that when we, with the Olympics coming up in the summer, like I really do think that's the difference between, gold, silver, and bronze most time, and the rest of the top eight or whatever the semis, like it's that mental edge, the person who can be like just 100% present, obviously have the preparation and um, just that mental edge. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's something to the outside lane too, by the way.
Oh, really? Yeah. A little
I
outside smoke, huh?
Yeah, I do. Yep.
Well, especially when it comes to waves, the wave effect. I mean, we know that there's three main things that are going to affect your speed in the water. That's your body position, that's your feel on the water. Not only the way you sit in the water, but how you hold the water, and then the waves themselves are a major factor. And then obviously your suit choice, is going to be you wear shorts as opposed to a racing suit. You're going to swim a lot faster. So there's
Yep.
those different factors, but and then I guess the mental side of it is when you're standing in lane four, everybody's looking at you as the person that should win this thing. And when you got that outside lane, it's like, well, no one's looking at me, no one's expecting me to win. I can just go and race. And so you see the kind of that Flo Manadou effect from 2012, and he's out in lane 7 or 2. I don't know which one it was, but he was on that outside lane and he just
Yep.
smoked everybody because everybody was concentrated on what was going on in the middle of the pool, right?
Yeah. Do you think? Do you think it's better to have a better last 15 than a first 15? I'm putting you on the spot here. Like,
Um, Yeah, like,
like
well, look,
it,
Caleb had a better first 15 than Bruno, and Bruno had a better last 15 than Caleb, and Caleb came out on top in 2020,
yep,
like at the Tokyo
yep,
Olympics. So
yep.
if you've got, and Roland did the same thing to me in Athens. I was in lane 5, Roland's in lane 4, and he smoked me the first 15, and I had a much better last 15, caught up to him, but by then it was over. So I think
Just
in this day
whole
and
thing.
age, it is better. I mean, Bukov would disagree with me in this instance, but look, I think when you're swimming for an Olympic medal, you don't want to swim from behind. You prefer to be
Yeah,
swimming from out front. You prefer to get that clean water. You prefer to have that skill that kind of gets in everybody else's head of like, oh God, he's got half a body length on me already. Kind of like what happened at the women's NCAA's. Um,
yeah.
where girl from Virginia, what's her name?
Gretchen.
Gretchen Walsh. She obviously was just destroying people off the
Yeah,
starts, and then off the turns as well. But like her underwaters were just ridiculous, And so when you have a weapon like that, let's say Gretchen has a weapon that when you stand behind the block and you pull that weapon out, and the girls are like, "Oh God, I'm about to I'm about to feel this," So it's like that's powerful, So
for
I'm
sure.
always probably going to lean on having that first 15 as the skill that you prefer. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's I mean, just watching Cam, obviously he typically gets off. He doesn't have the best start in the world, but it's obviously super clean. His underwaters are good. Um and his breakouts are just so good. He just gets
Mm,
right up on top in his
right.
body position. I think he just Yeah, I don't know. If he can, I think if he can find a way, I think if you can find a way to be out in front, without over swimming, right? That's the thing, right? Because then in the 50 long course,
Right.
like you can easily overswim that first 15, that first 25,
Yep.
and so
Yep.
so I think it's just finding a way. You kind of have to have two weapons, right? And I mean, we're talking about the best of the best in the world. Like you got to have all the weapons if you want to win, right?
Yeah.
Can't just be can't.
Preferably, yeah. There's generally you generally find there's the best swimmers are good at everything, but then they outweigh each other in certain skills, so
Yeah,
like obviously Caleb's an incredible swimmer, I'm not saying that, but he outweighs people in that first 15 with those underwaters. He can really dominate people there and then kind of hold his own, whereas a Bukov, for instance, is so powerful that last 15. He's coming back like a racehorse, and so like in a horse race, like you can hear the hooves behind you. You can hear that horse like galloping behind you, and it creates some sort of panic. And so, in a pool, you do have your peripheral. You can see at the side, and you see a hand that's coming at you, and it's getting closer and closer to the front of you. All of a sudden, you start to scramble, start to panic a little, takes you out of your game a bit. So
yeah,
yeah, those things can have an effect. And like you said, swimming is mental. Swimming is there's a lot of mental in this. And so once you understand each other's strengths and weaknesses, they start to play in your head a little bit. I don't care what
yeah.
anybody says. Uh,
Oh yeah,
it's going to be a mental game in Paris in the
yeah,
sprint events. So imagine that 100 free. Think about that 100 free. How many guys can actually win that race? Now, I've said that Kyle Chalmers is going to win it, but my God, if there's not 8 other guys that can win that thing, and imagine that, you just think of the mental games that are going on. First of all, in the call room, they're all staring at each other. Then they walk out to be announced. They're taking their clothes off and they're thinking to themselves, okay, how am I going to play this one? How's it going to roll? And then all of a sudden you dive in together and it's game on. Everybody's playing that cat and mouse type thing. So, wow, we're going to see some fireworks. But I mean,
that
yeah, man,
100.
this experiment's been fun watching
Incredible.
you do this.
Yeah, I just had to say that 100 free is going to be incredible.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 100 free is going to be wild. Men and women, I think they're both going to be ridiculous. The 200 free. Look, every event in Paris is going to be cool. We've got a lot of trials coming up before this, but man, it's been fun watching you do this experiment. We appreciate the support, Sprint Revolution as well. Thanks for throwing your weight behind us and believing in us as well. And yeah, I appreciate it greatly, man.
Thank you, Brett. Yeah, I got to give you a huge shout out. Just the movement that you've created, started. Like you've been doing it for a long time, and yeah, we talked a while ago about you doing this podcast, and it's just I it's just incredible what you're doing, and I appreciate you and all the support that you've given me. Just in the background, right? You're not doing it for clicks. You're not doing it for nothing, but just to help, right? You're just out
Yeah.
there helping people, and I appreciate that so much. And yeah, just quick too, want to say thanks to everyone who's yeah, this experiment hasn't been easy doing this every day. And there's definitely been sacrifices. Got to thank my wife. The day she gave birth, she's supported me doing this. So and just all the people that have helped video and random people, and yeah, it's been a blast, and I hope to keep it going. And after the 100 days, my plan is just to keep it going. Like I said, I love doing this. I think I've had a few ideas of what I might do with different things, and certainly gonna keep it going, keep training. I'm excited to kind of get back to training, work on some of these things, some of these details that I've learned about myself, and yeah, just try to get better every day.
Well, from a selfish point of view, I'm like everybody else. I know you come down to your last 10, you want to keep it consistent, but maybe at the end of the 100 days, maybe I hope you decide to warm up a little bit. Maybe I hope you decide to taper a little bit. Maybe you shave and hopefully, get a best time. I mean, imagine how cool that would be at 33, with everything you've got going on in life, to go from where you were, that 22 lows, to popping a best time, doing this experiment. I mean, that would just say so much about sprinting, so much about the sprint revolution. But I mean, it is already. I mean, the progress you've made, if we haven't learned from this, we're stupid ourselves. But think of it. Think of how fast you've got, you know, in the past 100 days, how much faster you've got, and what we can learn and what we can implement into the youth. What are the learnings from this that we can hand on to the youth that could have a better experience for them, you know, and keep kids in the sport longer and just love it. And so, yeah, it's been cool to watch it grow with excitement, you know?
Yeah, appreciate it. I'll definitely be shaving and giving it everything I have. So
cool. Yeah, all right. Coming down to the last 10, let's all follow along. Where can people find you on Instagram?
Sam Coach Swim.
Sam Coach Swim.
Sam Coach Swim. Yep.
Easy enough. All right. Good luck with the last 15 now, man, but especially the last 10 as we turn that corner, okay?
Yeah, thanks, Brett. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate. Later.